the Speak, episode 55. The Daddy Mac will make you jump, jump.
Do you kick ass when you speak, present, or pitch? If not, these expert discussions and insider tips can help you right now, today. Welcome to the What the Speak podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kelly.
Are you looking for a proven system to help prepare focused, crystal clear talks that you deliver with confidence and power? Look no further than the SCORE Conference, hosted by my friends Michael Hyatt and Ken Davis. Several past guests like Jeff Goins, Kerry Wilkerson, Paul Evans, and others have all attended this event. I've personally experienced this training and use it every single day. It's the only program that goes beyond just overcoming fear or tackling delivery techniques. I'm not exaggerating when I say this stuff will change your life. The next training is in Orlando the first week of May, and I've got something sweet for you. $200 off your registration if you use the discount code SPEAK right now. That's SPEAK. You'll also be automatically entered into a drawing to have your entire registration fee waived. How cool is that? The winner will be selected April 28th. Just go to whatthespeak.com/score and don't forget the discount code SPEAK. Oren Klaff, are you ready to answer the question, what the speak?
So I told you, you get to ask the questions, I get to give the answers. And rhetorical questions is something we got to talk about today. And that's a rhetorical question.
Love it.
So
Let's do it.
It hurts audiences when you ask them rhetorical questions because they feel like they're being spoon-fed like a goose. And so let's talk about that in a bit. But I'll play with you for the next 30
minutes. I appreciate it. I got a little note here. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
So, Oren, I know that you are an investment banker, the author of the top-selling book called Pitch Anything. You're also what I would say a Jedi master in all things related to the art of the pitch. Would you say that's accurate?
So I would say I've had a lot of times at bat. It's what I do almost all day, every day. Yeah. And I have a lot more experience than most people, and I'm good at it. So if all that stacks up to Jedi, Jedi away. But this is what we do day in and day out.
Well, for the audience, this is a funny little story I got to share. So right before we got on to record this, Oren said, hey, can you give me just a couple minutes? He's like, I'm trying to close the $200 million deal. And I said, come on, now you're just bragging.
So, and I think my reply to you was, hey, it's just the pizza guy charging me $20. I got to find a check for him. But I was trying to make it sound good.
For sure. How did that work out for you, by the way?
The pizza's delicious.
All right. So, Oren, let's talk a little bit about your journey into speaking, pitching, all of these fantastic things. And let's go back to the very beginning. For you, Where did it all start? I'm sure it's been kind of this evolution as you've grown through your career and the different opportunities, but let's go way back. Where did this all start? The ability, the skill, the interest, the passion, all around the art of the pitch.
Yeah. So I think everybody who gained some mastery in something got put in a very, very high pressure crucible, and that forced them to focus and create a breakthrough. And so I worked for a very small investment bank that did the same deals as very large investment banks. And so I was forced to raise, say, $6 or $10 million in a period of 30 days when most guys got 100 to 200 days. Yeah. So I had to figure out something better than your average bear to get that done. So raising a lot of money very quickly, legally, ethically, comfortably, in a way that everybody felt good at the end, but still getting it done 2, 3, 4 times as fast. Just don't bother me. I'm thinking. And eventually, I got to try a lot of different techniques. Most of them didn't work, but the ones that survived, boom, bulletproof.
So let's talk a little bit about some of those things that you did try. I always like to dive into the struggles that the guests have had on their journey. What are some of the things that just completely failed or bombed for you that you tried and experimented with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do what everybody I see starting out does. I have a great personality. I've got charisma. I'll wing it, right?
Yep.
That's one. Winging it. Some days you're awesome. Some days you're terrible, and it's unpredictable. So you go winging it, blows. Let's find something better. I'll rely on material. I'll get inside my own head and create this amazing presentation, and I'll read the guys this amazing presentation, and then that will be convincing. But clearly we find out that putting a presentation up, reading it to people doesn't work. I'll come up with amazing facts and details and information that will convince people of my point of view. Doesn't work. I'll beg, I'll steal, I will create a dossier in advance on everyone there and try and customize my pitch to what they're thinking on the fly. Use my smarts, my charisma, my ability. Boom, doesn't work. So you cycle through all these ideas until you arrive on the very few things that are truly effective.
Yeah. Okay, so let's explore what's something that you did that started to get traction that was different from all of those kind of fundamental approaches that many of us have either tried or used or certainly thought about. Where did this all change for you? What was the thing that got results?
So the thing that got results was understanding and changing the frame of perspective, which is I am there to entertain either the buyer or the audience. And I'm looking for their acceptance. And if I am juggling good and do a good speech and wave my hands and entertain them, then they'll like me, or they'll give me a purchase order or invest in my deal or buy whatever it is I'm selling. We don't sell tapes in the back of the room, but I know a lot of people do. People don't have tapes anymore. But whether they invest in our company, believe in my material, buying a package at the back of the room, the frame was if I do a good job, then they'll like me. And if they like me, then they'll want to buy from me. Mm-hmm. And the switching of the frame is the audience is not the prize. I'm the prize. I'm the one that prepared this material. I went through the experiences. I did this speech. I got this ready. I'm up on stage in front of 400, 500, 1,000 people, 40 people, whatever it is. I took a day to fly out here. These guys paid $5 and just had lunch. And I'm the prize. The audience or the buyer has to earn my attention. So I'll give you, for example, I spoke at a conference, all millionaires, 100 millionaires in the room got asked to speak there. And these guys don't, they have all the money in the world. They don't pay attention to much. The worst scenario that all you speakers are familiar with, they're serving lunch. I start speaking and more than half of them are on their phone, eating, talking to each other, and I'm doing my keynote. I'm being paid to do it. That's when you realize, boom, you just have to tell them, that you have to force them to pay attention and make it clear that I'm the prize and that you, the audience, are being tested. And once you switch that frame, everything starts to come together. So I give you, okay, that sounds good philosophically, but I'll start, not to pick on Tony, but Tony Robbins, but I'll start most of my large presentations like this. Hey, is everybody here? Ready to get motivated? Are you excited to be here? You guys in the middle, you ready to learn some stuff, right? You ready to just really get amped up and be one with yourselves and learn some amazing stuff and get excited, motivated? And people are like, well, if that's you, you came to the wrong room because we're not doing any of that today. We're going to learn actual stuff, usable in the real world. And you're going to come away from here with things you can use, make a difference, and ultimately, I care about making money, make money with. That's where we're going. Motivation, that's a different room. Because my material and what I know about, you don't have to be motivated. You can be depressed. You can be sad. You can be kicking the dog. And you can still do it this way structurally and be successful.
Got it.
So that puts pressure on the audience. And you've got to create, look, I don't want to tell you guys what you have to do. For me, in my world, it's got to be two-way communication. Mm-hmm. I will be here. I will help you out, but you guys have got to play a role. If I sense that you're too busy, you need to make a phone, go somewhere else, leave the room. Okay. People who are in this room are ready to do some work.
Yep.
All right. And so switching the frame and creating that two-way tension, I think changes the dynamic of being a speaker.
So,
if that makes
it makes total sense. And let's dive in a little bit more into this idea of the frame. But before we do that, I really want to ask you, how did you come to this realization? Was it something that you read? Was it something that you saw or observed? How did you get to this point where you're like, I need to change the frame?
This is great. This is one of my favorite. I mean, this is a transformational point in my life. So that's a great question. I wrote about it in the book, but I can cover it here quickly. So I went to a conference, was supposed to meet with really select investors in a presentation. Had a great presentation prepared, both verbally, and we had these pitch decks, which were beautiful. We really slaved over them. The real information, so almost white paper meets photos meets data, just something you would almost pay $1,000 for.
Yep.
And so I handed all those out, supplicating, gave them to everybody in the room. It turns out the guys in the room weren't investors, it was their analysts. I started giving my presentation, and you know how analysts are.
Yep.
They're just cold-hearted, like stone-faced garden gnomes made of concrete and ice. And so I'm giving my presentation, and there's no feedback. And you know how miserable it is. Like if anybody's done a presentation to 1,000 people on a dead phone line where only you are talking,
yep.
It's miserable. You don't have feedback, right? Doing a webinar, you have to mute everybody, and you don't know if your jokes are funny. People are crying. It's tough. But when you're facing people and there's 10 feet away, there's no feedback whatsoever, it's miserable. So finally, because of my bad attitude and my particular personality, I just got pissed. And I said, I'm not getting any feedback. We've got a great proposition here. No questions are coming at me. You guys are analysts, not even who I'm supposed to meet with. Tell you what, everybody who doesn't have a question, I'm taking the white paper back. And they just kind of looked at each other and like, I never heard anything like that. Still no reaction. And I just started walking around the room. Do you have a question? No question? Yanked it out of their hands. Who's next? Do you have a question? No question? Give that to me. And then they started like clutching onto it as I started walking towards them because it was really, a high value piece of material.
Yep.
And so I learned you can call it a takeaway. You can call it two-way tension. You can call it prizing. You can call it dynamic feedback. But if you tell people they're not going to participate, they don't get either to stay in the room or they don't get the good stuff. I really learned that and eventually after taking away 5, 7, 8 books, they guys, I have a question that I want to keep my book. So if you take things away from the audience, they will jump in and participate. You can't just give without asking for anything back. And here's the reason. People want what they can't have. They chase that which moves away from them, and they only value that which they pay for. Tattoo that on your arm, because that is the reality of the speaking business. You give it away, you supplicate, and you lean into people. They don't want it.
Yep.
You make them pay for it. They want it. You take it away from them. They want it more. And people only chase those things that move away from them. Now, you're up on stage. The trick is how do you incorporate that and make it real? But that's sort of the challenge of your own speaking business.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's great. I think it's interesting that you took this experience that many of us have probably found ourselves in and turned that into a learning opportunity to then say, okay, this is what I observed from this experience, and going forward, this is how I can command the room and demand their attention in a way that, like you said, is not supplicating them, but it's really letting them know, hey, I'm the prize, like you were saying earlier, which changes the whole dynamic.
So if you've seen a comedian, right, and somebody's not paying attention or they're heckling, comedians are excellent at frame control. For those of you who are in Los Angeles, go to Sunset Boulevard, the Laugh Factory, and see how comedians handle the audience. That's how you got to handle your audience. So if you think about frames, right, And a frame is the how a social interaction is functioning. And frames work like this. Either people are reacting to you or you're reacting to them. It's binary.
Yep.
All right. So if your audience isn't reacting to you, right, and you have to react to your audience, then you have the low status position in the frame. So comedians know that you can't have somebody derail, the comedy track or the program. So when there's a heckler or there's somebody not paying attention, boom, they're on them, they reframe them, they get them out of the way, and they move on with the people who want to be there and participate. And I think they have excellent
frame control. Love it.
Sorry, more answer than question.
No. I think that's really good stuff. And I do, like I said, I want to dive just a little bit more into this whole idea of frames and the strong method that you outline. But let's first take a step back. And I want to hear from you. What is the difference between selling and persuading somebody?
Sure. So I'll answer that shortly. A lot of my questions are very long. Your questions have long answers, but this is short. Selling, right? You sort of have repeated opportunities. Like if I sell paper, I come to your office, right, and I say, "Hey, I'm from Dunder Mifflin. I sell paper, and I see you're running low on pink. Can we restock? Yeah, we're going to stay with our pink. Come back next month. Let's send some emails back around. Show me your pricing. We do have to, it's a sort of a repeated relationship, continual, many bites at the apple process. The kind of presentations that I do, and probably a lot of your guys do, are binary. Win, lose, good, bad, come back, never come back. And just to put that in business terms, like when you go to a bank for a loan on a construction project, right? You make your presentation for $100 million, project loan, and they go, "No, we're not doing it." They don't go, "You know what? It's kind of interesting. Come back next month. Let's see how you've developed." They go, "It's not for us. We're out."
Yep.
If you call them back, they go, "Why are you calling us? We said no." Right? And so the difference between selling is your customers sort of, are in the process of buying, and you have repeated attempts, many bites at the apple.
Got it. Just want to make sure that everybody's clear on this difference, because we all are selling something, but the situation, the circumstance may dictate that you need something more than that, and persuasion is critical and key to that.
Yeah, I think when you're going in, and you're giving a pitch, you're looking for an answer.
Yep.
Right? And you're not looking for maybe. Right? So if people say to me, "Yeah, this sounds good. We're really interested. Let's, send us over a proposal. Let's see what we can do." A lot of people would say, "Hey, that's great progress. I'll take that." I say, "No. Why would I ever accept that?" Mm-hmm. Unless you can say, "Great presentation. We love that, what you said, and we like you. We want to try and do something with you. Let's try as hard as we can to connect and get something done." I'm not going to chase maybe. I'm busy.
Yep.
Right? If you love me, let's try and do it. If you don't, let's not. But people don't get married. They don't take jobs. They don't move somewhere. They don't do a career because they maybe like it. It's like deals are too hard for maybe. So you want to have a great presentation so you can get a yes and not end up in this selling process, which is very long cycle.
Got it.
Okay.
Now let's talk about neuroeconomics. Really quick,
Sure.
Can you give us a rundown of what this is all about, and how this is a critical piece for those of us that pitch?
Yeah. So I think what happens is we think of our mind, you're a smart guy. You somehow got Skype installed on your MacBook Pro. I got mine installed on MacBook Pro. Our Skypes go, I'm Skype too. And they talk to each other. And then you and I start, and that's all neocortex, right? We start to think of our mind as these problem solving, linguistic, technical, capable, language oriented communication devices. That's your mind, right? Mm-hmm. The reality, and this isn't, so I paid someone to look at my pitches, and they came and said, "You think of your whole mind as this smart neocortex." That's incorrect. Your brain is made up of 3 pieces. The neocortex is up here, and it does all that stuff: language, problem solving, installing Skype, right? But it's the last part physically of the human mind to get information. Where information comes through is the primitive part of the brain, which is the crocodile brain, and all information feeds through here, and the filter is very aggressive. And it takes all information and it goes, this is coming from a person, and relative to this person, should I eat it? Should I kill it? Or should I f*** it? Right? And those are sort of the first gateway, and you probably sense that in your mind, and we can have less, invective here. But the filter of the crocodile mind is very aggressive, and it wants things visual. It wants things fast. It wants novelty, and it wants simplicity.
Yep.
So when you know this, when you start talking about details and ROI and information and put up charts, the minds of the other people go, I'm out. The reason you have to start simple is because the crocodile brain filters interactions initially and goes, is this something that I need to deal with?
Yep.
Is it new? Is it interesting? Is it high stakes? Is it existential? And if it is, then it passes it up to the next part of the brain, which isn't the neocortex yet. It's the midbrain. And the midbrain, it understands social situations. Okay, so it goes, okay, this is new information. I don't know how this all turns out. It's high stakes, and I can see what's going on. Then it goes to the midbrain. The midbrain goes, the person giving me this information, are they low status?
Yep.
Or are they high status? And if they're low status, another filter comes on and goes, I don't listen to people who can't affect me socially. That's why you try and walk on stage with some, that's why you have these introductions. Hey, it's Oren Klaff. He's done $2 billion. He's a best-selling, he's traveled here from another planet, and he can fly around the world backwards and turn back time and stop bullets with his left hand while holding the hammer of Thor in his right hand. Please welcome Master of the Universe. You want that kind of introduction.
Yeah.
Why? Right? So people, functionally how it works, so people perceive you with high status, and they'll transfer the information that you're giving them finally to the neocortex so they can think about it. In those presentations or those speeches where you haven't felt attention, so all of this is just to earn attention.
Yep.
As you said. In those speeches where you felt like you haven't earned attention, it's because information didn't get past the crocodile brain, or when it did, it just got, filtered out, or when it did, it got to the midbrain, and the midbrain says, this guy's a tool, low status. He's, I don't pay attention to low status people. Because they can't affect me. And then that filter screened out. So if that, and we have
Sure.
If you want, we can give you a visual that explains how information moves up through the human mind that you can, post on your site or whatever.
Absolutely. We'll definitely have to get that from you. And, one comment I would say as a follow-up to that is for myself and those that I work with on presentation skills, knowing the neuroscience behind how the members in your audience are receiving the information that you're communicating is crucial. It's absolutely essential for you to really begin to understand how you can get through to them and really have an impact to where they're paying attention to you and giving you their undivided focus, because then that's when you've got them. And it's not, we could dig into it forever. Oren and I could probably get really geeked out on some of this neuroscience stuff. But some of the key fundamental things that he just outlined are very simple to understand. And once you grasp that, it opens up doors in a tremendous way like you would never have imagined.
I think I would give people in 30 seconds or less a way to think about it like this. Humans are pattern-making machines. Yeah. We cannot live in the world around us without making lots and lots and lots of patterns. There's too much information. So once the mind of the person believes they understand what you're going to say, the point you're going to make, and the architecture of your argument, they're gone.
Yep.
because they've made a pattern on you and they go, I don't need to pay attention to it. So I would boil this into two things. The mind is a cognitive miser, does not want to think. So unless it's high stakes and novel, they pattern make you and they're out.
Yep.
And why bother to think about all this? Because you want attention, and attention equals convincing power. And to me, that's the end of the argument. You got to do all this to get attention. Why do you want attention? Attention equals convincing power. You're never going to, get through to people without convincing power.
Cool. Well, very fascinating stuff. Oren, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with the rapid fire Q&A.
Sure, Brian.
Research in 2009 by Pablo Bernal revealed that by simply taking a posture of confidence, people feel more confident. Now there's a device that can help you with this. It's called LumoLift, and I've already pre-ordered mine. If you'd like to boost your confidence when speaking in public through better posture, check out whatthespeak.com/lift to watch the video and grab one for yourself. So we're back, and Oren, I just want to say that I really want to get into the strong method, which I'm sure that's probably a whole nother discussion.
Right.
So we'll link to the site, we'll link to the book, all the resources that you've got over in the show notes at whatthespeak.com. But really quick, can you just give us the breakdown of this acronym STRONG and,
sure.
and the different elements?
For us, so the old acronym, I think, was ABC, right? Always be closing, always be selling. And the problem with that is you are leading with everything, the value proposition. Once you've exposed a value proposition, people only want to know price. So if you're selling materials, or whatever it is, or speaking, if you let the cat out of the bag, you point out too soon, then they're done. Yeah. And all they want to know is, what's the price? And so unless you want to spend all your time negotiating price, which none of us want to do, ABC selling, I think, is dead and gone. So the framework we use is STRONG, which is set the frame, tell the story, reveal the intrigue, offer the prize, nail the hook point when you have somebody, and then get the deal. And I think that's a clear progression. No way we have enough time, but I would just start with set the frame, right? So people don't start, I think, enough with the big idea. Why is this important? How is it high stakes? What are the economics? How are things changing in the world? And if we can leverage that change, what would we get generically?
Yep.
Setting the frame or establishing context. In movies, they call it the establishing shot. If you can't set the frame, then sort of all is lost, right? Because you don't have control of it's just like a picture frame or a window, or if you look out the window of an airplane, depending where you are, you see totally different things, right? And if you let the audience choose what frame they're seeing your speech through, or your topic through, could be anything, right? And so you've got to narrow that down. High stakes, economic, what's moving in the environment, and if we did everything right, what's the big upside we would get? That to me is setting the frame and the big idea. And I'm saying if we just circle back to neuroeconomics, or it maybe 70, 80, 90% of the human brain is dedicated to movement.
Yeah.
That's how we survive. A tree, we don't worry about that much. Rustling grass with roaring in it, that is something we pay attention to. It's moving and it's changing. So if you want people's attention, you describe how things are changing. That will wake them up, right? And that's, how to do that is very clear. Like the economics of mobile commerce are dramatically rising. The shipments of mobile devices over PCs the line has crossed. If you're unfamiliar with mobile commerce, then you will be on the tail end of the ability to earn money.
Yep.
And if you understand where it's going, you'll be one of the highest earners, or top of the 1%. And that's the fundamental economics of change in technology. So,
and then people, when they hear that, they sit on the edge of their seat and they're like, tell me more.
yeah, for sure. I mean, you take Bitcoin, right? Or these kinds of things, existentially that if you're not familiar, you just know inside you, like Bitcoin is on the cover of Newsweek. It's on every article. If you don't understand these virtual currencies, you're really falling behind because things are changing. So if I say, I'm going to explain to you the risk and reward of Bitcoin, then you pay attention because anyway, enough said.
Yep. Cool. Well, the thing that I love about all of this stuff too is it's, in a way, there's some very novel approaches in what you're explaining that so many of us, we don't even think about. We get so caught up in explaining the data and the facts and the figures, and we forget that, like you said earlier when we first started this discussion, that entertaining and being the prize and offering something that people are going to be really engaged with right from the set. If you can do that, if you can flip that switch, it's quite powerful. So
I mean, to that point, right? The mind is designed for survival, not to do statistics. When you ask people to do statistics, you're asking them to work really, really hard. The mind does not like to work hard. People don't like to work hard. So when you say 70% of mobile devices are, in North America and Europe, but if you factor in the 20% that travel overseas and the growth of China, you can see a 72% stoichiometric growth rate. And therefore, we're convinced that our product or our subject area is really important as the growth of the GDP of North America increases 3% year over year. The mind, with not enough stakes set, does not want to do that work.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Oren. I just fell asleep when you were saying all that.
Yeah. We're not narco. Yeah, Brian has narcolepsy. I wanted to mention that to people. Please don't comment. He's sensitive to that. Yeah. Please don't make those comments in the chat box there. It's just an unfortunate piece of his life. So,
yes. Cool. All right. Well, I think we got it, Oren. Let's wrap up with the rapid fire Q&A. First things first. Are you a slide or no slide kind of guy when it comes to the pitch?
No slide. I'm telling you right now, human on human. That's why you're there. You can do slide over Skype. You can send them PDF, waste your slides, save your slides for that. If you get in front of somebody, that's it. That's you and them and the economics of the human condition, and you got to deal with them. No slides.
Just toss that pitch deck in the trash.
Toss it. I was on stage with Emmett Smith, and Emmett Smith did not put up slides. Yep. So I can assure you of that.
Love it. Okay. So let's talk about other folks who are speaking, pitching, presenting that are out there right now. Is there anybody that you look to and you say, I'm really drawn by this person's personality, their approach, whatever. Is there somebody like that out there for you?
For me, the great orator is Bill Clinton. Just mesmerizing orator, and he doesn't have a lot of the benefits of stage and pyrotechnics. Yep. And he's got, the thing about him is he's got so much scrutiny on every word that it has to be tight. And within that, he just doesn't have the flexibility that you and I have to sort of screw up or explore or try stuff. And within that very, very narrow band of experience, he's got to be amazing. And he is. So I think he's one of the greatest orators of our time.
I agree. He's got the skills. And we had one of my previous guests was one of his speechwriters. So we had some interesting stories there.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, so what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you when giving a pitch? You told a good story earlier, but is there something where it's just been bizarre, funny, uncomfortable, like whatever? Can you share something related to this?
Yeah, sure. So I gave a keynote speech for a large $1.4 billion NASDAQ-listed company a couple weeks ago. And, I was using my computer to put up a slide. We had to put something up. A keynote is a little bit different from a presentation. Yep. You're going to have slides. I don't want to backtrack on that. So I was putting up a slide, and I used the software that is their direct competitor to post a slide. But that wasn't too bad. In switching, I had this fun graphic up that we just had internally on the screen, and it's a give a meter, right? There's a sort of looks like a Geiger counter, right? And it's set at 0, and underneath it says loud and clear. You could just see it. Give a meter up on the screen for a very conservative company, and there was a lot of because the CEO was there foot shuffling, and then a few people like I want that slide, and then I had to scramble to get rid of it. So that was particularly not good. Just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it sounds like an awkward moment on a couple different levels there.
Yeah. And then sorry, sure. There's just almost every speech has awkward moments at Google. So I spoke at Google for one of the big auditoriums, and I had to go to the restroom. So I go to the restroom, but the guy doesn't turn my mic off. So across Google's campus, and you know the rest of the story.
Oh my gosh. That's a classic one right there. I have to say, Oren, we've had some stories, and that one right there is probably going to be at the top of the list of one of the best stories.
Yeah, mic check for sure.
All right. So I often ask this question, and sometimes it's obvious, but I'd love to hear directly from you the impact that your ability to speak in this particular manner, how has that impacted your career, your business, so on and so forth?
Sure. For me, having these skills means that I don't have to work at a big investment bank to make the amount of money that we make. All right. And so I would have to have a whole framework of supporting people and a big brand like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan to give me credibility. But because I'm able to do some of the stuff we talked about today, I can build the status, convey the information, and have the credibility in a very small group, but do the same size deals. Yeah. And to me, that means I don't have to work, clock in 9 to 5, although, make a lot of money, but work in Manhattan. And so it's given me the freedom to live in Southern California and do lots of fun stuff.
Brilliant. Okay. What advice would you give somebody who's just getting started right now, based on all the experiences that you've had?
So I think for me that I know it's hard, but I would hold the line on doing free speeches. Got to get paid. Yep. People value that which they pay for, right? And so when you find yourself, you're getting experience, you're talking to the women's knitting club of Baltimore, they'll have you, you're giving your material, but I think in your mind, it lowers your own status and it lowers the gravitas of your presence. And I know the counter to that is you need experience and you just want to get out there and cycle through, and probably a lot of people have, but who you speak for, who you speak next to, and what you think of yourself will affect your brand, and your brand is more important than just about anything. So,
got it. Okay. Last thing we're going to end on is, Oren, is there one book that you would reference or point to that's had an impact on your growth, your ability to persuasively communicate?
So, there's just so many books that are awesome. I think, for me, I really like Malcolm Gladwell's books, not for the content, but for just the clarity of communication. Maybe not the world's greatest speaker, but I think it's a great model for building structural ideas that are provocative. And so to me, if you just go through those and see how he's structured his ideas, it's really, they've got tremendous convincing power to them. So I give that guy a great recommendation.
Great. Well, and I'd say as somebody who's not maybe technically, from a mechanics aspect, the best speaker, people love to hear him speak because of all the things that he touches upon that you underscore in the strong method.
Well,
to be able to create something fascinating.
I just think people focus too much on technical. I see lots of keynotes where the guy's like just technically amazing. He knows his marks on stage. He's got great diction, He's clearly practiced it, but the content is crap.
Yep.
So I would give up performance capability, tonality of your voice, your body language, your eye contact for the quality of your material any day of the week. Focus on structural quality and the novelty and the interestingness and the topicality and how it's relevant to what's happening, in your subject area today, and your credibility, more than your ability to form, diction and hit your marks on stage.
Yeah. Well, Oren, I got to thank you so much for your time. We've had some really great things that you've uncovered, and you are somebody that truly kicks ass when they speak, present, or pitch. And again, we just thank you so much for sharing some golden nuggets with us today.
No, good. You guys are doing good work here, Brian. I really appreciate it. I'll support you any way I can. This is important work, and I appreciate that you're doing it.
Great. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Today's guest certainly had some amazing insights they shared. If you'd like to purchase a copy of their latest book, visit this episode's show notes over at whatthespeak.com and click the link at the bottom of the page to immediately order their book.
All right, here we go with the outro.
Thanks so much for joining us today on What to Speak. Be sure to visit whatthespeak.com for show notes on every episode and to sign up for our email list to stay updated on resources that'll help you kick ass when you speak, present, or pitch.